Hi, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. What's your name?
My name is Bianca.
Okay, and what do you do, Bianca?
I am a amateur boxer, kickboxer, fighter, and creator.
And you live where?
I live in Miami, Florida.
Okay, and prior to Miami, where were you at?
Originally, I grew up in New York and moved out to Connecticut when I was about like 6 years old.
So I see you spend a lot of your time fighting. That's pretty much what social media, your online presence tells me that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with the sport. It's basically, my main focus right now. I want to be professional with this, whether that's boxing, kickboxing, MMA. I'm still kind of figuring out my journey with that.
Okay. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey and the deciding factor, the moment in your life where you knew you had to take a pivot from what may have been your old life into this new lifestyle of fighting, which from what I understand takes a lot of discipline, consistency, execution, right? As difficult as it is to train, it's a mental game as well. Is it something like that?
Right. I mean, back in the past, when I was in high school, I was not a good athlete, to be honest. I grew up most of my life as a competitive cheerleader, pivoted into cross country and track later when I was in high school. But I was never the best cheerleader. I was never the best track runner. I used to give up on things really easily. I was a track runner and I decided, hey, I don't like doing this, so I'm gonna try pole vault. And then I was like, what's easier than pole vault? Oh, long jump. So I was always trying to find something that was easier than the last because I didn't care about it. I hated working out. I never wanted to go to the gym. My parents put me in sports growing up, and the second that I stopped liking it and would throw a fit, they would take me out and I would go into the next sport. So I've done soccer, cross country, I've done lacrosse, I've done cheerleading, gymnastics, taekwondo. Like there's so many different things that I did, basketball, softball, and I was never good. So I think when I was in high school, I was starting to fall into kind of a bad path. I started to hang out with some pretty bad people, and the town over for me really wanted to live the fast life. I always would lie and say, hey, I'm 19, I'm 20, and I was really 16, 17 years old. I was falling down a really deep, dark path, and I ended up getting really thin. I was like 99 pounds. I wanted to be a model, and I was like, my goal is to be a model. I want to be famous for being a model, and I just wasn't good at modeling. So when I entered into college, I was still kind of on that path, partying every day, partying every weekend, always trying to live that fast life. And then when I was like 21, 20 years old, I started hitting the gym. I started lifting weights. What kind of prompted me to get in the gym was there were people in high school that would try to fight me, bigger girls. I couldn't fight back. I was so skinny. I was so frail, so weak-minded. I would crumble when someone would say something to me. I couldn't fight back. People were trying to fight me in the bathroom in high school. I was chased. And then when I was in Miami in my partying days, I think I was like 19, 20, I was on a boat and a girl tried to beat me up, and I obviously couldn't defend myself. So I started to lift weights, gained weight, became obsessed with going to the gym. It became ingrained in my routine. I was a super OCD personality, so once I got into that routine, I didn't want to stop. I was training every day, 2-3 hours in the gym, lifting weights. Ended up getting up to like 130 pounds, pure muscle. And I was meeting people in the fitness world that were like, hey, you have a good following, you should start bodybuilding. And I fell in love with bodybuilding. I would stalk people like Laura Chapados and all of these really, really high up, Olympians and these people, and follow them and follow all their workouts and want to be just like them and idolize them, to the point where I was about to enter into a comp and do my first bodybuilding comp. And then I was like, well, if I want to win, I have to do drugs. And then it started to cycle back into, hey, I'm doing all these drugs, why not just do more drugs? And I knew that that wasn't healthy. So one day I went to the gym here in Miami, a gym called Boxer, and I met a girl and a coach that was a Muay Thai coach. And he was like, you're really strong. Have you ever considered doing Muay Thai? And I was like, what the fuck is Muay Thai? And he was like, it's the art of 8 limbs. It's a beautiful sport. I was like, I'm not athletic. Like, I am a bodybuilder. Why would I do that? And I went to my first Muay Thai class, took a lot of courage. I think going into a gym for the first time and doing a sport where you have no idea what you're doing is really intimidating. And I took the leap of faith. I went, and after the first time I went, I literally fell in love with it. I started going once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. Then I was doing privates, and I was training with this coach for several months, but I wasn't getting any better. I was just doing it for a workout. And then I was like, well, what's the purpose? And that's how I started to feel about bodybuilding, because I'm like, what is the purpose of bodybuilding and training like a bodybuilder if I'm not going to do a competition? So then I told my coach, hey, listen, I'm putting in a lot of time to this. I would love to take on a fight. Am I too old to fight? Do you think I could fight? And he literally laughed in my face, and he was like, you can't fight. You don't have it in you. Why do you want to fight? You don't need to fight. And to me, I was like, well, if somebody's going to tell me I can't do something, it makes me want to do it more. And that's when I found my coach, Michael Babb, and he, picked up on my dedication to wanting to do this sport. And I looked at him and I said, hey, listen, I have a challenge for you. Do you believe in me? He said, I see how much work you put in. Yes. I said, okay, I want to do a fight. Can you make me a fighter in 6 months? And he took the challenge, and I haven't turned back from there. I stopped doing all the drugs that I was doing, ketamine, coke, Xanax. Had a really bad Xanax problem in college, so this kind of took me away from everything I was doing, and I got into this different mindset, an obsession and a love for like you're saying, the perseverance, the dedication, like the mental challenges of the sport. And it's unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. And the gratification I get from doing this is just unmatched. And I knew that I could do it, and I believe in myself. And ever since then, I think a year ago was the last time I did any crazy drugs, partying and all this stuff. And I'm never going to turn back, because it's my dream is to be a fighter, so I know what it takes.
How did your parents feel when you told them that you wanted to actively train every day to intentionally fight somebody else in front of other people, and that's where your energy was going? Did they support you? Did they like it? Did they oppose it?
Yeah, that's a great question. My dad was a D1 wrestler growing up. He was the captain of his wrestling team in high school. He was the captain when he was a sophomore in college. He knows martial arts. He used to do kung fu. But when I told my dad I'm going to do kickboxing, he was like, why? He didn't understand, because he's like, you don't come from nothing. You're not these people from other countries that have to fight their way out of their countries. You're not someone from Romania or Malaysia, just random places. He was saying, you have an opportunity that they don't. You have an education, you have a bachelor's in science from a really accredited college, and there's no need for you to do this. He didn't understand it. He wasn't that supportive. My mom, on the other hand, she's very chill, relaxed. She was like, do whatever you love, chase your dreams. If this is what you want to do, I'm going to support you. So I think my dad was really worried. And when he went to my first fight and I won the tournament, I had 2 fights, he saw what, this is something that you can be successful in, but he said, this is a hobby. This isn't your life. This isn't going to be your career. And with my social media and everything, I was like, I can make it into a career, because if it's something I truly love and I'm going to work toward it every single day, I'm not going to stop until I get to the top, basically.
So you have a good relationship with your parents?
I have a pretty good relationship with my parents. I would say I'm a lot closer with my dad because he lives down here. My mom is in New York. My parents got divorced when I was 10 years old though.
Okay. You have some amateur bouts scheduled. As of filming this video, you're fighting tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
What is your intention? Are you trying to take this pro, let the world know who you are?
Yeah, I mean, I want to shoot for the stars. I don't think anything is impossible. I hear so many stories of people going and walking into a martial arts gym when they're 26, 27 years old, and I'm 25, and I started this when I was 24, and it's something that I know can be achieved because of the grit that I have and the perseverance. So my goal is definitely to go pro with this. Like I said, I don't know if that's going to be an MMA. I don't know if that's going to be box. I do have a kickboxing fight scheduled for April 5th. So I don't know. I'm figuring it out. My dream though is to do influencer boxing, misfits boxing, and that's the boxing part of it is what I love the most. So now I'm kind of figuring that out as I go through this process.
Based off of what I learned from you here so far, it seems that you have somewhat an obsessive personality when you either involve yourself in certain activities or engage with certain people. Is that what's going on here with fighting, where you found something you like and you're using that part of your personality to your advantage to keep striving forward even in moments where you think maybe I should stop or this is getting a little too hard or dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I think the obsessive part of me can be bad in some aspects, like with relationships and people and holding on to things that no longer serve me. But I think it works really well in this sport because even on the days that you don't want to go to the gym and I don't want to show up and I don't want to show up 80% of the time, but it's like, it's ingrained in my brain now that like, if I don't show up, I'm not going to reach my goals. If I don't show up on the days that I feel like shit, why would I show up on the days that I feel good? It throws off everything. So it's like, that's how you know, like, to be an athlete, it's not about wanting to do it. It's not about motivation. It's literally about dedication. And I'm so dedicated to my goals. So I just show up every single day. It doesn't matter how I feel. I put everything aside when I step in the gym.
So you've had a couple of fights already, right? Your friends, your family have seen you in the ring fighting, getting punched in the face and punching back, right? Maybe some of your friends have seen you with bloody noses. You've taken injuries that your parents have seen, almost broken noses, right? Sprained ankles, whatever you have. How did people start treating you once they actually saw that you went through with your fights and weren't just talk, that you weren't just training and trying to build hype that I want to get in the ring at some point? You actually showed up, you went through the weight cut process, you trained hard, you went through the mental battles, you got in the ring not once but twice. How did people start treating you differently, if they did start treating you differently? Did they treat you better or worse?
I would say I think people are probably more intimidated by me now because it's like, in the past, I would post stuff online and people would, fight back with me. So I definitely think people have gained a little respect because of what I'm doing. But I do think a lot of people don't get it, and I don't expect them to get it. Like, people I used to work with would be like, why aren't you coming to this work dinner? Why aren't you coming to this girls' night? Why don't you come party with us? You don't care about the camaraderie. You don't care about, being social and making friends. And it's like, my goal isn't to make any friends. My goal is kind of to be selfish right now with my time. And like, if I tell myself I'm going to do something at this point in my life, I'm going to do it because I've given up so many other freaking times that I know now is like, I'm not going to give up on this. I'm going to keep showing up. And I do think I've gained people's respect in that aspect.
What other changes have you made? Were you able to cut people off better that you saw were not at the same level of discipline that you had, that maybe didn't have the same type of self-respect for themselves like you have for yourself now?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you get into a sport like this, it's if people don't understand, you can't expect them to understand. You can kind of accept them for who they are. You either love people just wholeheartedly for who they are, or you cut them off. And I think when you get to a point where you feel like this person is no longer serving the best interest for my life and they're not supportive of you, that's when you have to cut those ties. And mentally, it's really draining to entertain people like that. So it sucks, and it's really hard to remove yourself from places that you used to sit at tables at. And it's just one of those things, like, it's only going to make you a better athlete. It's only going to make your mental stronger to remove things that no longer serve you, and negative things. And energy is so important in this sport. It's like your mental controls how you perform. And if you're dealing with something, and you're going into a match, and it's happened to me, you are gonna lose because your brain is not strong enough and your mental strength isn't there. So it's really, really essential to, control what type of energy you're allowing in your life. And it's been a lot easier, I think, to cut people off now, knowing that I have this goal in mind. And like I said, it's a very selfish sport, so you have to do what's best for you.
The final question I have for you, based off of what you just told me, which is great, it seems like it all started with you and your decisions to better yourself, right? Mm-hmm. What do you tell somebody else that may be traversing the same path as you? What do you tell them?
I think a lot of people will continue to go down the path they're on and probably just dig themselves deeper into holes. So I would say for these people, like, find something that brings you true joy and happiness, and really reflect on your life and be like, is me doing drugs? Is me having sex with all these people? Is me partying all the time? Is this fulfilling a deeper desire in my heart? Am I fulfilling God's will for myself? And, sitting with that thought and really thinking on it and being like, is what I'm doing right for me? And ask God that, and ask him to give you signs, and like, he'll give you the signs. You just have to trust and believe in it. It's one of those things, like, you have to be willing to change for yourself, and you have to find something that brings you, fulfills you and brings you happiness, because without that, you're never going to change. So find what that desire inside of you is and really go after it and chase their dreams.
Wonderful.